Show between now and then. We're going to be chatting Gaelic football with Colin Boyle and Darren O'Sullivan from 8 o'clock because it was another crazy weekend in the championship. So that Galway Derry draw, that Mayo beating Tyrone results, Armagh's statement win in Croke Park, I think it's fair to say, are three of the biggest storylines from the weekend. From 9 o'clock we're going to be joined by Maeve de Burka to chat about the Republic of Ireland versus Slovenia, which is happening in Parc Uí Chaoimh at the moment. We'll go over to Kathleen McNamee momentarily, who's watching that for us. And we'll also be chatting to Anthony Nash before 10 p.m. He was coaching the London team, the Christie Ring Glory, on Saturday, and the build-up to the Limerick-Cork rematch is very much underway of a Tuesday as well. So plenty to chat about with Anthony a little bit later on. And before all that, we'll be looking back on the Champions League final and chatting about the Republic of Ireland men's team with the 42.IE's Gavin Cooney, who is here for the Newsround as well. Hello, Gavin.
How are you, Eoin? How are things?
Very well. Cameron Hill will be delivering said Newsround. Cameron, welcome back.
Thank you, Eoin. Hello.
Kathleen McNamee is there in Parc Uí Chaoimh. Kathleen, the revenge mission against Slovenia will only be complete if it's 4-0 or more. So revenge mission looks unlikely to be completed this evening, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it's definitely been the most positive 45 minutes that we've seen from this Carla Ward side, I think, in her tenure. But only one goal so far, another 3 to go. They've definitely been a lot more attacking, and you could even see that tonight with the team that Carla set out with, starting Carusa and Noonan. They've had a bundle of chances. Really, they should be at least another goal or two up at this stage, but unfortunately it hasn't happened yet. Great goal though from Saoirse Noonan, brilliant pass in from Jessie Stapleton. She thought she'd been having a really, really positive night tonight, and great to see a Cork head scoring while we are down here in Parc Uí Chaoimh.
Yeah, for sure. They had a big chance right before the break. Slovenia, one-on-one opportunity for striker Courtney Brosnan, did well to make the save. Slovenia, their manager was talking about figuring out Carla Ward's game plan. Has the Slovenian team managed to pick holes in this Carla Ward team just like they did at home?
No, they definitely haven't picked the same sort of holes as they did at home. I mean, that game they were just slicing through Ireland. Ireland have had pretty much all the ball, apart from that one opportunity that you mentioned there just before half-time. There's been very little for Courtney Brosnan to do today. It's been a really feisty affair, I will say. The Slovenian manager, Coleman, he actually was yellow carded earlier on in the game for giving the referee a bit of grief, and there has been a lot of heavy tackles going in, particularly on Katie McCabe, who isn't particularly happy about that, as I'm sure you're aware. But Slovenia's game plan just seems to be try and defend. They're not really looking to score any goals tonight. They're just trying to stop Ireland from scoring. And
who could blame them? 48 minutes on the clock, Ireland 1, Slovenia 0. Just explain to us quickly again the importance beyond promotion to League A here. It does have potential implications for Ireland qualifying for the next major tournament as well.
Yeah, exactly. If they qualify for League A, it's much the same as what we saw with our Euros playoff. We will get an easier route to that World Cup qualification. Now, Carla Ward was talking yesterday about the potential of staying in League B not being the worst in the world because of the way this Nations League is set up. It actually could mean that we could get a favourable draw on the other side. So the team is obviously, you want to be playing against the best that you can before these qualification routes. We saw how much that benefited us in the lead up to the last World Cup when we were playing against top opposition, but also when we were playing in Ligue A, and that game that we had down here against France, and how much that actually did help bring on the development of the team. So staying in League B, not really what this side wants, but also we have a long few minutes left here to try and get a couple of goals.
We certainly do. Kathleen McNamee, thank you for that. Parc Uí Chaoimh playing host the Republic of Ireland against Slovenia, 1-0 to the Irish after 49 minutes. Now, the Newsround is here with UPMC Sports Surgery Clinic. When things don't move, rotate or bend like they used to, choose us to help you get back in action. And there is big Irish football news that you're kicking off with this evening, Cameron.
Indeed, and Brentford have confirmed the signing of Republic of Ireland goalkeeper Caoimhín Kelleher from Liverpool today. The Cork man is moving to the GTEC Community Stadium with the fee believed to be in the region of €21.5 million. So Kelleher will replace first choice keeper Mark Flecken, who's leaving the Bees for German club Bayer Leverkusen. It was also confirmed today. Ireland assistant coach John O'Shea was speaking this afternoon in Abbottstown, and he believes Kelleher would have had to juggle a few different factors before ultimately making a decision.
Obviously it's not an easy thing for him to do. He's proven the quality that he has every time he's been asked to go in as the number one for Liverpool. The run of games that he's shown, that he's been able to show, the consistency that he's shown when he's had a run, that they haven't missed Alisson when he has been injured. That I think that's what the whole of Europe and the whole of the world has seen when Caoimhín's been in goal for Liverpool. So listen, whatever happens, I'm sure we'll get the benefit of it.
If this is a Thomas Frank Brentford team next season, Gavin, it's a very exciting move for Caoimhín Kelleher. It could still be, even if he leaves, depending on who replaces him.
It's a pretty solid move, I think, for him. He has obviously believed that he deserves to be a number one somewhere for a while. I think last season, as we now refer to it, even though it was only a few days ago, it ended. Caoimhín Kelleher was of more benefit to Liverpool than Liverpool were of benefit to him. He has definitely become a very, very good goalkeeper, thanks partly down to the quality of coaching there, and obviously, thanks to his determination and his ability to maximise it. I think he would have left last year. I think he may have changed agents last year, which is usually a sign that players want to leave. So it's a good move for him to be first choice. If he joins the Brentford that we've seen in the last couple of years, it is a very good move for him. They finished, 9th in the Premier League most recently. But I'm reading these stories, Owen, like Brian and Mbumo inexplicably wants to move to Manchester United for some reason. We might come back to that. And then there's a few, I'm uncomfortable with these rumours of Thomas Frank to Spurs. It does seem like Ange they're just waiting to be put out of his misery now. Daniel Levy is on holidays and is returning with a decision. Thumbs up or thumbs down on Ange Postecoglou, and then Marco Silva and Thomas Frank believed to be the two front runners to be Spurs manager. And Frank has done a superb job at Brentford. So flexible, so smart. And he was the guy who got them promoted. So it's hard to see how they would adapt to his absence. So that's what makes you a little bit queasy about it. But that's being a little bit OTT. I think he probably should have left a year ago. He obviously played an important role in the title win, and then saving Kylian Mbappe's penalty at Anfield. Those were great moments for him. But it's still tough for him to be on the bench because he believes he's good enough to start. I think he is good enough to start. So, pleased obviously that he's moving. Pleased as well for another of the winners of this move are Ringmahan Rangers.
Yeah.
They're 20% sell-on clause. So there are some fantastical figures doing the rounds of instant 4.5 million for them. It's not quite true. The club are, they've said that those figures are a bit OTT. I think the initial fee for Kelleher is in the region of 15 million euros that would rise to 21 with various performance-related add-ons, which we're not told about. And they're entitled to 20% of something, presumably of the overall fee, but how much arrives straight away, how it's structured and everything is dependent on the deal done between Liverpool and Brentford and how it's paid. And then another chunk of money, I think 20% of the 20% goes to Rockmount, where Kelleher was before. But regardless of the figures, they're looking at somewhere between 2.5 and 3 million euro, which is brilliant and testament to them for negotiating it, because it's not easy to negotiate those sell-on clauses with big teams, because they come to places like Ireland and other smaller markets and think we should get your player for nothing, and it'll cost us nothing to sell him in the future.
Well, not even top sides in Ireland. Like, you think of the pittance that so many League of Ireland players have ended up going over to England for championship sides. So yeah, as you say, a massive coup, really.
Yeah, it's down to Ringmahan valuing Kelleher and property valuing themselves, and it's a good football story from that point of view.
So that would be the biggest amount paid to an Irish club ever, if it's in that region. Even if we don't know exactly the precise amount,
it will be well up there. Rovers have I don't know the top line figure that Rovers are at now for the Gavin Bazunu transfer, but they had other clauses related, like his number of international appearances or club appearances or something that has topped up that initial fee. But it's like we talked about the paradigm shifting transfer that was Mason Melia to Spurs. That's the ballpark figure that Ringmahan are getting for a 20% sell-on clause for Kelleher. So huge respect to them, Yeah, that's brilliant.
Great payday for Caoimhín Kelleher, hopefully, as well. And just whatever the situation is at Brentford next season, even if it is...
I feel bad now for talking about the Brentford situation. It's a very negative spin to put on things. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say...
I'm a gloomy man. But it's brilliant for him. Look, it's great for him.
It's not going to be like poor Darragh O'Shea in the Premier League every time he plays in the league, just playing with one of the worst defences.
He's been relegated, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not going to be that. Nathan Collins and Caoimhín Kelleher should be still the two best placed players in the Premier League from a Republic of Ireland standpoint. And look, Brentford can attract a great coach as well at this point.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And Kelleher did say himself, one of the reasons he was attracted to there was their record in developing players. So, he knows his talent is such that he doesn't need to become Brentford's record appearance holder here. He can do a couple of years there and then trade up. Mark Flecken is... I think he may not be Dutch number one anymore. I think Verbruggen and Brighton might be, but he's off to Bayer Leverkusen to play in the Champions League. that's the level that Kelleher ultimately has to be aiming for. Probably stayed at Liverpool a year too long, even though that final year was a pretty glorious one. So I can't wait to see how he kicks on now.
Yeah, for sure. You are turning to rugby next. Massive news on a domestic level in the world of rugby as well, Cameron.
Yeah, white smoke in Galway, Eoin, because a new Connacht rugby head coach Stuart Lancaster wants to inspire the community with his brand of rugby. The 55-year-old former England boss will start his 2-year contract ahead of pre-season training in July. He completes the coaching ticket with Rob Saib as attack coach, Cully Tucker as scrum and contact coach, and line-out and maul coach John Muldoon. So it's expected that Lancaster will take charge of their defence as well. The former Racing coach also coached at Leinster. He won a Champions Cup there as well as a Pro 14 4 in a row, and he joined Jaron Cullum on Off the Ball Breakfast last month, saying he was open to a return to Irish rugby.
I actually went to Racing played Connacht in Galway, and Nina and I went across to see, because Dan was playing, my son plays for Racing, and he was playing, and we were like, oh God, we miss Ireland. Like, we honestly, genuinely, I'm just saying it because I'm on with you guys, but like, we really, really had a best time of my career. And I actually read this article last night, and it was about coaches, rugby coaches, or a coaching career, a bit like a mountaineer, like climbing a series of mountains. So you have a tough ascent, you get to the top, you have the moment where you're at the top, and then you have this difficult descent, and and you're constantly going up and down these mountains as part of your career. And take like Leinster, you get to the top in this Champions Cup or whatever. And England, I climbed one of the biggest mountains early in my career. And the question was, should you ever go and climb the same mountain again? And the guy said, well, 8 years later, the mountain's different and you're different, so why wouldn't you? And I actually thought it's a really good analogy, a good way of thinking about it, because everyone says, oh, you should never go back, you never do this, never do that. I'm like, yeah, but things have changed. Leinster's changed, Ireland's changed, I've changed.
Yeah, well, he's exchanged a sugarloaf for Crow Patrick at this stage. A different challenge, a different escalation for him. But it was quite interesting in that interview as well that he just spoke about how much living in Ireland was the best experience of his coaching career, and that he went back to watch the Racing game against Connacht a few months ago and just had these pangs of, I would like to work in this country again. So there was a bit of a giveaway there that it might again happen. But this is a massive coup for Connacht.
Is this the best thing that official Ireland has done for the West since Knock Airport? This is phenomenal.
I think the Wild Atlantic Way gets
an apparition of Stuart Lancaster in the West.
Honestly,
sorry, I'm obviously not a big rugby dude. This is phenomenal. I mean, this guy was being linked with. There's talk like, oh, Leinster would have him back, or like, how could you get him in and into like the Wallabies job?
Yeah,
and he's going to Connacht. This seems mad.
Absolutely incredible. Someone was saying, I think it was your colleague Murray Kinsella said it was the biggest bit of business that Connacht have ever done, and I don't think that's hyperbole. Like, usually, it's a massive endorsement from a Connacht perspective that you're not. They've kind of had to maybe look further afield and get great coaches. The likes of Pat Lam and Andy Friend have always been. Like, those are great coups for Connacht, and they've maybe had to think outside the box. Whereas this is Route One, an established coach with a pedigree and a track record of winning things and developing players. It's a huge, huge signing for him. And I know Racing mightn't have gone his way, but that seems like now looks like a bit of a basket case of a club, and it was probably right that he left when he did. Like, I think there's reports today that Dimitri Szerzewski, who has a long association with them, is also leaving. So it seems like things are collapsing there. But the fact that he's going in with Rod Saib, he's got John Muldoon there as a good handover. Cully Tucker will be able to hand over the reins and keep that bit of continuity. Suddenly, what was looking like maybe a bleak picture, given how the season ended for Connacht, there's a lot of optimism, you'd have to feel.
Yeah, continuity is one way of looking at it. People might make the point that the coaching ticket was basically in place before Lancaster was appointed, and maybe he doesn't fully have his imprint on the coaching team, but you could also frame it like that it is continuity from this season. It's a 2-year deal, so it's not overly long term, but there's obviously the possibility of extensions. The big positive news is that you've got a headline coach with a new 12,000-seater stadium coming down the tracks. Obviously, they've had big names in the past, from Pat Lam to Warren Gatland, but I think this was pre-Gatland's reputation exploding. Yeah. So this is, I think, the biggest appointment ever for Connacht Rugby, and hopefully it's going to have a knock-on impact for their results in the immediate sense. So, what was it, 13th in the URC this season, scored loads of tries, conceded loads of tries, their defence was suspect, and I think tightening that up is going to be his number one objective when they get into next season.
David, I know you need to move on, sorry, but David Humphreys is serious about this levelling up thing, isn't he? He did talk about it in his first press conference that now we don't want to penalise Leinster for all the good work they've done, but we need to bring the other provinces up to standard. This is one hell of a statement of intent to that direction.
Well, one of the pieces I saw today is that a lot of Leinster Academy prospects are now looking at maybe Connacht if they're coming out of the schools because of Stuart Lancaster's track record, and that suddenly boosts Connacht as this place. I'm hoping that he can coax Owen Farrell to Galway. That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Oh, that's the next thing we need. So fantastic news really for Connacht Rugby, and hopefully that comes to fruition immediately next season in the URC for Connacht. We do have confirmation on the fixtures and the venues for the final round of the round robin in GEA.
So Newry is the venue for Dublin's crucial clash with Derry in the final round of group games in the All-Ireland Football Championship. The other game in Group 4 sees Armagh meets Galway at Kingspan Breffni Park in Cavan. Both of those matches throwing in at 6:30 on Saturday, June the 14th. So it is a kind of a do or die. Dublin need to win to guarantee their place through. I think Derry are bottom of Group 4 as it stands. Earlier on Saturday, June 14th, you'll have Kerry and Meath battling out for top spot in Group 2 in Tullamore at 4:15. At the same time, Cork and Roscommon contested do or die clash in Portlaoise. Then on Sunday, June 15th, Monaghan will face Down at the Athletic Grounds, while Portlaoise hosts Louth against Clare in Group 3. Both of those games slated for 2 o'clock throw-ins, while at 4 o'clock the Group 1 campaign concludes with Donegal against Mayo at Dr. Hyde Park and Tyrone taking on Cavan at Enniskillen.
Yeah, the headline there is that it is the Hyde for Donegal Mayo. Jim McGuinness was talking about the possibility of Croke Park being the venue for that game, and he wasn't too pleased about that possibility. So they're going down to Roscommon, which Mayo are pretty familiar with, then Armagh, Galway and Cavan, and Dublin Derry in Newry. This is going to be the last ever round of fixtures in the round robin of the GA.
Are they changing it again?
Next year. 3 years and
They
done.
only changed it recently. I am a Garrison man on the ditch here. I can't keep track of the formats. It's becoming like the bloody Champions Cup. Like, they keep changing it.
I'm sure you've been enveloped by the good feeling and buzz around Gaelic football this year. You must be entirely confused as to why it's changing next year.
Yeah, I don't get it. I thought they'd finally fix this thing.
So
is this Proposal B? Is this I remember a lot on this show about Proposal B back in the... Is this what they're bringing in now?
No. Proposal B was very, very different. That was the best format ever proposed, but that got shot down in Special Congress in 2021. No, it's going to a more knockout feeling thing. So you'll have basically one fewer game compared to this year. There's no groups. There's a winner's round, a loser's round, as is often the case.
Because the best thing so far about your news round, Cameron, is the amount of do or die I just heard there about Gaelic fixtures. Again, I feel like, and I'm saying this as a very casual viewer, there's a lot of league matches, a lot of league phases now, a lot of shadow boxing, a lot of things where I can't really understand what's at stake here by reading the title of the match, be it like a quarter-final or whatever. So if we get to more knockouts, I know I'm now complaining about the changing of the format, but I'm resiling from that criticism immediately. So I like the sound of the more knockout.
Yeah, well, it's coming in next year, whether we like it or not. I personally love this current format. I think it's delivered in spades this year. It turns out that if the sport itself is better, the entire competition looks better as well.
And are the provincial championships, we're keeping them, are we?
We're keeping them. The provincial championships are never going to die. They are here forever and ever, no matter what anybody thinks about them.
You're like Mr. Burns. So last time I checked my stocks was September 1929. I wonder what happened after that.
Well, my stocks are in Longford, and I've seen how we've been doing in the Leinster Championship since 1968, and I gotta say, we gotta bin this Leinster Championship off. We're not winning it anytime soon.
63 minutes on the clock in Parc Uí Chaoimh. It is still 1-0 to Ireland. We'll get over to Kathleen for the full-time score there, and we'll let you know of any goals that do happen. Where are you going next, Cameron?
Well, Carlos Alcaraz continues his French Open men's singles title defence in the next few minutes. He's taking on Tommy Paul for a place in the Final Four. The winner will face Lorenzo Musetti, the Italian that saw off the challenge of Francis Tiafoe earlier. Top seed Aryna Sabalenka is through to the semi-finals of the women's singles. She defeated China's Qinwen Zheng in straight sets earlier and will play defending champion Iga Swiatek, who eased past Elina Svitolina also in straight sets. Now, Sabalenka, after the match today, added her weight to the ongoing row around women's matches not being scheduled in the primetime evening slot at Roland Garros. On Jabeur criticised tournament organisers for ignoring the quality of the women's game with the inequality in scheduling, and tournament director Amélie Mauresmo defended the scheduling at a tense press conference last week.
For me, the message that I always said, and I will repeat, as I said, the conditions did not change from having one unique match in the evening. So for me, the message is not changing, and it has never been that the girls are not worthy to play at night. It's never been this, and I will not accept that you carry this message. That's really clear to me. What I'm saying is I'm talking, and we are talking, because I'm not the only one to make the decisions, we are talking about potential match length. And in this perspective, it is hard. It is hard to say that the 2 sets can go really fast. When the 3 sets, you have 3 sets minimum. So it's, I don't know, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe more, I don't know. That's the length for me. That's the length of the matches. It's not how they play. It's not the level they reach right now, especially right now. I'm not talking about this.
We don't want people to have to go home early, therefore we're not giving the women primetime slots, is what Amélie Mauresmo is saying there. I don't know, she says that we don't want the angle to be women aren't worth it, but it kind of sounds like that's exactly what they're doing here in
worth
practice.
less.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that it's a bottom line thing or something that they figure that if people are around for an extra hour, sort of spending more in the stadium or something like that. But it seems.
How would you think of it like that?
ridiculous.
Oh God.
I don't really need to. I don't really know what the kind of reasoning beyond that is, but I'm sure she's speaking on behalf of the bottom line at Roland Garros. So that's an ongoing debate that's happening there. As you mentioned there on Jabeur, not happy with that. Sabalenka has been on the record talking about it as well. So we'll see if anybody else adds their voices to that chorus over the course of the next few days. We've time for a couple of more, Cameron.
Yeah, well, we'll root back to football now, because Bruno Fernandes's decision not to accept a lucrative move to Saudi Arabia was both a football and personal one, he said. That's according to reports today which claim Al Hilal were ready to pay a fee of almost €119 million to sign him from Manchester United. He has a contract at United until 2027, worth nearly €3,000 a week. It's understood the Saudi Pro League club was prepared to treble his salary, and players will be able to retake a penalty if they accidentally double touch the ball from the start of next month. That change has been made following controversy in a Champions League shootout this season, where Atletico Madrid's Julian Alvarez converted his penalty against Real Madrid. It was then ruled out after he slipped with his standing leg touching the ball first.
We will come back to the Bruno Fernandes story and Manchester United in general with Gavin before 8 o'clock. 0879 180 180 is our WhatsApp number. Karen in Limerick has been in touch to say this match needs Louise Quinn up top. And off the bench, I suspect, with all these corners. So we'll see if that actually materialises. And then Martin's been in touch to say, as an Irish fan, great move for Kelleher to get first team football at a decent club. As a Liverpool fan, shame to lose the best number 2 around. Never was worried when Alisson was missing, which is very true. He leaves. I think Liverpool fans are going to be delighted with what Kelleher has left behind. And also he's left with 1 year remaining on his contract. So.
Yeah. And I'd say Kelleher can't wait to hear the end of the best number 2 in the world compliments. There's the biggest. You'll see backhands at Roland Garros, but none as good as that.
Right, we will be focusing on the Champions League final after the break. We've got loads coming up after 8 o'clock as well, with Colm and Darren reflecting on the Gaelic football action over the course of the weekend. And Anthony Nash will join us later as well to reflect on London winning the Christie Ring over the course of the weekend. Before all that, it's time for the Cash Machine.
News Talk's Cash Machine.
Now,